Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name's Helen Webster. I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott, and our fabulous guest today is
Sean-Paul Redding.
Welcome. I'm so delighted to finally get you to come on the show because your life's so busy and you're jetting off all over the place. We're very, very fortunate. And you're coming live from by the Anglican Cathedral, aren't you?
Just right outside the door.
Not to disclose your address. But
yeah, not very far. Well, thank you, Sean, for joining us. We have been trying to get Sean for a long time, and you will find out a little bit more about why it's so difficult, because he's here, there, everywhere, doing all amazing things. So very first thing we do is we shout out to the kids, any little people who've done amazing things this week. Would you like to go first, Sandra, or would you like me?
You can go first, Helen.
Okay, so I'm going to give a massive shout out to Ria, who is 3, and Ems, who's 2, who came to the Family Fit today with their nans, their grandmothers, and we made polar bear rice cakes. So we made a rice cake with cheese on, and then they had to put bananas and blueberries for eyes and nose and ears, and they both cut their own bananas. So they're like 3 and 2, so little knife cutting skills we're teaching them, and they cut them, and they were just like super cute. So massive shout! I'm going to give a massive shout out to them too for being super cute. What about you, Sam?
So mine's for an a young person, but in secondary school, who's having a bit of a bad time at school. So we're hoping to be able to support Ryan shortly. So I've got my fingers and toes crossed for him with that. So cool.
Brilliant.
What about you, Sean?
Well, I can only say to my goddaughter and her brother, which is, I'm going to say to a few kids, there's Evie, and then there's Alfie, and then there's Freya. Freya's my goddaughter, so she's right now, I told her if she does good and goes to church, that I'll be good to her. Because that's what a parent has to do, make sure they go to church. So,
spoken like a true Texan.
Catholic, really.
Okay.
Shout out to all of them. Okay. Success this week for you personally. Do you want to go first, and do you want me to go first?
You go first. You've had a good success.
We've had a few good successes. But my biggest one, and it's because Sean's in as well, it sort of relates a little tiny weenie, only because it's got the word food in it. But in May Logan Centre, I've started a Ready Steady cookery hub.
Yeah.
So we get food that's going to go out for food waste, so we don't know what we're going to get. And it arrives, and then we make food out of that. So the community come in, we make food out of it, and we eat the food, and then they can take some home if we've got some left. So last week was our very first one, and we had 6 people come, 7. Anyway, this Monday we had 15 people came, and it was just amazing. So massive shout out to the Big Help Project for donating the food to us. But it was brilliant, and different ages, different abilities, all just mixing together, and we eat the food then, and share it. And there's a massive power, I would say, in sharing food. I didn't realize how much it means to people, but there's lots of the people who we deal with that feel isolated, and then they come, and then to be able to share food is a massive thing. So I think that was our biggest success this week. I've absolutely loved it. Yeah, it's been didn't realize how much I loved it. So yeah, it was really good. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, sometimes you don't know how much you enjoy something till you do, or you take it for granted, let's say. So mine's a little bit shallower than yours. So we've picked up some new clients in both areas of the business. So I'm quite pleased. New translation jobs coming in this week, and last week clients we've not done work for before, and education side of things as well. We've been doing some teaching English for new clients as well this week and next week. So that's all been really cool. So it's nice, Good stuff. What about you, Sean? Have you had a success of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I started doing some stuff for the mayor in the Whirl at Hamilton Square. So I did a thing for Paul O'Grady when he got a civil dinner, and they just asked me to do another civil dinner there. And it's really nice because they use all the china and the silver, and they have a beautiful table that they barely ever use. And they started to do more things like that. So they asked me to do that, which is cool. And it's for a woman that we met at, oh God, I'm trying to think of the guy's. It was like a big, massive house in Cheshire at Christmas. What was it called? It was called Eaton Hall or Eaton. He's the Duke of Westminster. That was his house. We got invited to something there. We met this woman who's a teacher, and she's having a civil dinner in the world because she's a school teacher, and they asked me to cook it. So the weird thing is, I met her, and I'm going to do that. So that for me, that's successful because any kind of catering I can get in the is because I do live out. That was always really good for me to get the thing for the mayor and you know, and it's
amazing.
And Hamilton Square because it is beautiful and it is amazing. So yeah, that was really cool.
And do you have a lot? Will you have people, quite a few people to help you, like a team you take with you, or do they have people?
Yeah, I have my same little group. Yeah, and I'm more and more as you work in Liverpool. There's so many people I can rely on that I've worked with to do these things like that. But for me, it's Hamilton Square is like one of the most beautiful places on earth. You know, it just looks so great, and then that town hall there is gorgeous. And when they lay it out, because they have a lot of silver and a lot of beautiful china, and they actually put that all out, it looks fantastic, and it makes even if the food isn't that great, it looks great.
The food will be fabulous.
Oh, the food will be fabulous.
The food will be fabulous.
Brilliant. So lots of successes, lots of little people to shout out to. So Sean is with us. We are going to play this or that so that we get to know a little bit more. Sandra, are you going first or am I going first?
You can go first.
Okay, I'm going to ask Sean first. Okay. Would you rather follow a recipe or have some ingredients given to you and say, make a wonderful thing out of that?
Well, this is quite funny because this is what I do at the moment. Because where I'm working is Squash Organic, and everything's organic. So, and they have a little shop on there. So, what they don't sell during the week, veg-wise, gets replaced. You know, it's replenished. So, I will cook what they have. So, some of the times they'll say, you know, it could be squash, whatever's in season, leeks right now, squash, kale. Whatever's in season right now, they'll hand to me, and I have to come up with something. Sometimes I look, but I'm one of those people that is constantly reading recipes and looking at books, and that inspires me. So even the stuff on the telly, like on this weekend, I had a chance to watch. I was off on Sunday, so I watched that Sunday Kitchen, and I got some inspiration from that. If I read something or see something, I will clock it, and I won't forget it. So that's kind of my kind of superpower is if you show me once how to do it, that's it. I know how to do it. I can't remember why I walk up to the top third floor of my house and why I've gone up there, but I can remember a recipe. It's just something that comes to me. And I can also clock if it's going to work or not too. Like if I'm looking at a book and I can read it and I think, well, that's not going to work. Those measurements aren't right. And that's not very often, but super gods like Delia Smith, or there's some chefs that Mary Berry, their recipes work. Whether they have a group, they probably have an amazing team behind them that test it to the max. But there are things like that. Yeah, this or that. I love a recipe, but I also change it, and I also have to work with seasonal stuff because I'm a vegetarian vegan chef. So if you're a vegetarian and vegan chef, it has to change with the season. So you have to keep up. Like apples right now are everywhere. So, and that's just part of the job. But that's what I actually love the most too.
Really? What about you, Sam? Because you're a bit of a cook, as a chefy cookie, aren't you, Sam?
Not a chef. No, you see, honest to God, but I forgot. You see me having cooked loads over the last few years, but I hadn't cooked properly for a long time. And although I used to years ago, when I went to stay with Sean and John and Harvey, it was brilliant because I was just in a lovely, lovely creative environment, and I had no confidence, and it rekindled all of that for me. And it was Sean who introduced me to Otto Lengi. I'd never heard of him, and he had the book, and he was going, what? And everything. And they had some really good books. And so I've got quite a few of them now. And, you know, but I'll talk about that later, but just the best food ever. So what was the question?
Would you rather follow a recipe, or would you rather be given a load of stuff and say, make something?
So I'd rather follow a recipe, actually, but 9 times out of 10, I'll look what's in the fridge and just make something, because that's the type of cook I am. But some of the recipe, if you've got time to follow a recipe and do things properly, I quite like doing that, you know, because I'm not an innovator like Sean is, but I do enjoy cooking. Okay, right. Mine is, this mightn't work for you, Helen, but never mind. Sean, the specials or the English beat as you know them?
The what?
The specials or the English beat as a band?
For me, I love the English beat. To be honest, that's a really hard one, because as a kid, this was like my obsession in life, was British music like that, and you had to buy those albums at they were imported. They didn't sell them at the regular record store. But I always loved the beat, and the specials. I've seen them a few times at the Roundhouse, and in fact, I just love all that music from that period. So to choose would be really hard. That changes daily. If that one song's done, I'll say, this is my favorite band in the world. And then if I hear the next one, like I hear Mara in the bathroom and that, but this is my favorite band in the whole wide world. So it does change drastically.
I think mine's the specials now.
Is it?
Well, it used to be the beat, but it's the specials, definitely now.
And I'm going to pass on that question.
Okay. All right, Hel, go on. You're okay.
Sean, would you rather cater or like cook for? Would you rather to do a big barbecue or cook a 3-course meal?
Honestly, a barbecue is so much easier, to be honest, because it's all done outside and there's a lot less mess. I'm always after the one that makes the most amount of money. Because you know what, I have to be honest, it's the restaurant industry, and the industry is what you spend the less on and you make the most on, and you have to think like that. It's a business, and if I'm catering, I want to do the thing that I'm going to make the most amount of money on. So if it's a 3-course meal and I'm going to make good money, then I'll do that. But if it's a barbecue, a barbecue is easy, and people love a barbecue.
Yeah.
If people love a barbecue, it's just hard to count on a barbecue in England, because when you plan that day, it rains.
Yeah,
that's what you have to. Yeah, so that's where the problem is. Texas, though, a barbecue, you can have it all the time. But in the reality is, I'm after the thing that makes the most amount of money. It's a business. If I'm doing it for business, it's a business. If I'm doing it for fun, it's a barbecue.
Barbecue. What about you, Sam? For fun, what would you rather do?
If I had to cook 3-course meal for me.
Oh, sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, 3-course meal.
We're coming over.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait.
I'd rather do a barbecue.
Yeah.
I like to be outside, and yeah. Go on, San, your go.
Okay. Would you rather, I've got a funny one. There's loads of potential ones to ask you, Sean. Would you rather work for because we're going to find out a bit more about you shortly, but you know, you've cooked for a lot of very, very famous people. Would you rather be a private chef for a family or run your own restaurant? Because I know you've done both.
Right now, I left the family that I work for, but I'm still working for them because, but this was the mistake I made. I was desperate to live in Liverpool. I was desperate to change what I was doing. And I thought, I really, when you work in a restaurant, it's your comrades. You're all in a group together. You're working for something. It's a buzz. It's fun. In reality, it's super hard work with a lot of cleaning and a lot of paperwork and a lot of allergens and a lot of all this stuff that's involved with it now compared to what it was when I started. And the chef bit, it can be really, really boring. Like I would say a good head chef in Liverpool probably makes £45,000 a year to £65,000 a year. A starting salary for a chef in someone's house is probably £70,000 a year to £120,000 a year, and you're just cooking for a certain amount of people at their home. Could be all the staff. Some people have 3 or 4 chefs, but the pay is different. If you're a head chef in Liverpool, say working at the Hyatt, you're working hard. When you're cooking for some family that, you know, the kids are having nuggets and sausages and beans, and the husband, they want lasagna. They go out to dinner at restaurants. They're at home. They want home cooked food. They want really good home cooked food. Most people, unless they're having a party or something like that. So it's easier, but you miss the buzz. And, you know, when you're in a restaurant and everybody drinking after work, because it all ends and you have to bring yourself down at 1 o'clock in the morning after scrubbing everything down. Everybody has a glass of wine or a beer. And it's that kind of that I miss. But I'm now 50. I'll be 57 in April. And standing all day and dealing with a bunch of young people that you have to scream at is hard work. So, I mean, I like the mix. Right now I have a really good, because I'm helping out at a restaurant, which is a cafe restaurant, really, who's starting to do more catering. And I get a chance to dabble in with my old clients. And if people ask me to do a job, I will go and do a job at their house. So I'm a bit all up in the air about what I'm going to do with my life, really, at the moment.
That's okay. Something will fall in your lap because your reputation precedes you.
What about you, Sam? Would you rather cook for a family, or would you rather be in a restaurant?
In a restaurant. That would just fall on its face flat. I'd have to be my only option. I can't do the other. It's not my skill set, unfortunately.
I'm with you, and I'd rather run a restaurant way, because you've got the other people and the camaraderie and everything like that. But yeah. Okay. My last one, Sean. Okay.
Yep.
Would you rather attend the Super Bowl or the Oscars?
Oh, Lord have mercy, because the Super Bowl's got amazing singers. As a child, you know, I wasn't a sports person. Do you know what I mean? So, and I grew up in Dallas when the Dallas Cowboys always won. I mean, they were America's favorite team, and they still are, even though they don't win. So I had to go to every football match, like every American football match I had to go to, and I hated it. And my brother and I used to watch the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, because I had a gay brother, and Kelly and I would do the routines with them. We were like, 2, 4, 6, 8. And my poor dad, my other 2 brothers were obsessed with football. I love the Oscars. That's a really hard one, because when you go to an American football game, or any football game, like even if you're going to see Liverpool play, it's that buzz and the thing in the room and everything. But I think going to the Oscars, I did the American football thing. It'd probably be the Oscars, because of all the people you're going to see, and then you'd have to dress up, and then dressing up is always the best thing in the world, isn't it? So, if you don't get to do it all the time, and putting on a Dickie Bow suit and the whole thing would be fun. How about you?
What about you, Stan?
Oscars.
Oh, would you? Super Bowl, 100%, hands down.
Well, you might see, every star, Beyonce, like the show in the middle is supposed to be amazing.
What's his face is playing, isn't he, this year? Usher. Usher's playing this year, I think.
Usher. Well, it's going to be a good show.
I'm going to stay up. We're going to do the Super Bowl, so we're going to.
Helen's a sports fanatic.
I'm going to sleep on the Sunday afternoon and stay up and do the Super Bowl.
It's the only sport where I actually know every rule. Do you know what I mean? I can watch it, because I had to watch it as a kid. We went to every Dallas Cowboy football game when they were playing in Dallas. I know every rule. Like, I can watch it and say, they've got 10 yards to go, blah, blah, blah. Can, they push it back, blah, blah, because I've just seen it so much. I know that they're going to have, in 26th, the World Cup closing World Cup game is going to be in Dallas. It's been announced it's going to be in Dallas. I know it's going to be in Dallas where the Dallas Cowboys play. So that'll be a big old thing for Dallas.
That'll be amazing.
World Cup, yeah.
Yeah. Go on, San, your very last go.
Okay, so my last thing is, Sean, Switzerland or Los Angeles?
Switzerland is the most beautiful place. Do you know what I mean? It is absolutely gorgeous. Where I work in Switzerland is called Stad. Starts with the G, but they call it Stad. It's GSTTAADD or AAD. It's beautiful. Like it's absolutely gorgeous. But it's only billionaires that live there. So that you couldn't live there unless you were a billionaire. You would have to live on the outside. Los Angeles, I hated, but now I actually like LA. I've got friends there. I've got a guy from Scotland that runs a place that I like to go drink at called the Precinct. And then when I go, I never have to pay for anything. And he's such a Scot, and he's such a nice person. I know we love that. That way it's dangerous. And then there's another place called the Eagle, where the guy's from Texas, from Dallas, and his boyfriend is a chef, and they don't charge me when I go there. So well, I mean, now when you have friends somewhere, it changes everything. I actually got asked by one of my clients if I would move there, and I was like, no. I said I'm trying my best to be in Liverpool.
Where else would you?
I mean, I'm trying, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to spend most of my time in Liverpool. This is where my heart is. This is where I want to be a lot more. Because that's why I moved here, was to spend time here. It's a shame that work will pull me away.
Yeah.
I always come back. Do you know what I mean? Like
the Beatles, sure.
Yeah, I'm one of the massive fans of Liverpool. I fell in love with the city when I came here. It was quite weird because I had flatmates in London who were from Liverpool, and they used to ask me when I was younger to come to Liverpool, and I'd be like, I'm going to Amsterdam, I'm going to Barcelona, I'm going to Paris, I'm not going to Liverpool. I'm sure Liverpool's changed drastically. People had a nasty attitude towards Liverpool when I was younger, about all kinds of things. But I'm happy. Some of my closest friends in London were Liverpudlians. I lived with Meg Matthews, Noel Gallagher's ex-wife.
Yeah.
And Meg, and she's one of my oldest friends now in London. She was just here with me. Her father's from here, so she was always going on about Liverpool, and it wasn't until I met John, my partner now, that I came to Liverpool. And I just love the city, and I love the people.
Amazing. Cool. Go on, Sam, you're going to introduce Sean, and we're going to hand it over to him.
Yeah, he's just such a worthy guest. I'm so happy he's here. So I'm absolutely delighted to finally have Sean Paul Redding on the show, because I've wanted you to come along for a long time, but you're here, there, everywhere, all over the planet. We can't even get you here for dinner. So I'm just so happy you've come for the show. And Sean is a massive executive chef to the stars, and restaurateur, you name it. I was very, very fortunate to spend 6 months with you guys in the lockdown, which wasn't intentional when I moved in, but ended up staying there, which was actually a wonderful experience and very, very inspirational. So Sean, we'd love you to tell us about yourself. How come you've ended up here, and how come you do what you do, and what your plans are for the future?
Well, I moved to London a month before I turned 19. And I was so desperate to get away from Texas. I was so obsessed with British music. We were talking earlier, and New Wave and Annie Lennox, and everything that was coming out of England was just exactly what I was into as a kid. And I had the opportunity to move to London, and I jumped on it. I was like, sure, I can't wait. And I've been here kind of pretty much ever since. I have moved back for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years in that period of time. But I've always been in London, like really most of the time London, 30 something years in London. always cooked my whole life. Always cooked. I did a film course, like, just because I had to study while I was here to stay. So I did this film course because I thought, well, I love movies, so let's do this at Central London Polytechnic. But I still cooked. I still did stuff with catering, still did things like that. And been here ever since. London, I had a cafe, a vegetarian and vegan cafe in an art center called the Diorama, which was the Diorama. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's kind of a Victorian where they built scenes and you look through slats and it moved around and they might show you First World War. There was one in France, a Diorama in France, which was the first one, and then one in Regent's Park. And I was in the one in Regent's Park, which was squatted by artists. And I had a job working for the BBC, Rumple of the Bailey. I was doing the catering on that show. It's 100 years ago. And the woman that was running the cafe there had to leave the cafe in a hurry. And the guy that ran the art center said, "Would you take over the cafe?" And I said, "Sure." And before, if they did 7 people. And I made everything fresh, like all my cakes. I was, everything was fresh and everything I did in the space, the soups and everything. By the end, we had a queue at the door, and I was doing sandwich deliveries to all the offices around there before Pret-a-Manger. And Tesco's had all the sandwiches. And I had sandwich delivery guy, Sandwich Man, which was the best thing I ever did in my life. Loved it. And I loved delivering the sandwiches because people were so happy to see you with the sandwiches and cakes and stuff like that. To a point where I was selling like 400 sandwiches in a day. It was a sandwich making machine. I was doing like 300, like we were just doing, I would do like 50 ham and cheese, 50 cheese and pickle, 50 like that, like every morning. It was just like, and people labeling up and guys going out selling them. And I did that for 10 years and loved it. Thought it was great. It was a veggie cafe, and I thought, what? I need to do something else.
Was that after you were at the Ivy or before?
No, when I was there, I just thought it was the best place on earth. And it wasn't that, it still is there, that first one. At that time, I thought, I want to work for Mark Hicks. He was the head chef there. There were 2 guys, I forget their names now, that own it. They own a few restaurants now in London. They sold it on to Richard something Cunningham, I don't know. So I went to work. I thought I'm self-taught. I thought I need to move around. So I'm going to go to what is the best place that I know and want to pick up everything I could. So I did the Ivy for about 1.5 years. I learned more in that 1.5 years than you could ever imagine. And then I started to move around. And then I ended up in a restaurant called Manna, which is a vegetarian restaurant, the first vegetarian restaurant in Primrose Hill. Which was great. We won best vegetarian restaurant in the country.
Wow.
We had everybody eating. There was Paul McCartney's favorite restaurant for Paul McCartney is at Meta. He came in. At that time, he had kind of just met Heather, and he was taking her out to dinner, Heather Mills, and he was taking her out to dinner there, and he was there quite a bit. We got his daughter Mary a lot. Mary McCartney ate there a lot because it was a good vegetarian restaurant, and I loved working there. Again, moved around, but I left Mata and opened up a pub. I opened up a restaurant in a pub. It was at the time that all the banks kind of had a crash. I was married for 18 years. I'm a widower, and when I was married, my partner worked for Lehman Brothers when they went under, and that's when I opened up my restaurant. It was at a crash in London. And it was just disastrous. And the pub, I paid everybody, but I never, ever made any money. I just could barely take money home. I was at a time when it was just people weren't eating out that much. We were still busy, don't get me wrong, but we weren't busy enough for me. Paying bills in London at a restaurant is a killer, and paying staff. But I managed to keep it for about 2 years. And then I just thought, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to be a personal chef. And that's a hard job to get into. It's not something easy. People need to know you. You can't just go into people's houses. People are very private. And I went to work for the people that probably are the most private. I started work for, like I said, Meg Matthews, Noel Gallagher's ex-wife. And I did maybe Meg for about a year. And from that, it was like Sadie Frost and then Jude Law. And then, then it just kind of, it ended up being all of them, like all of the Primrose Hill, I'll say Promiscuous Hill, Primrose Hill lot. It was fun. The best jobs that I got when I just completely lost my mind was I got asked to work for both of the guys from The Clash, Paul Simonon and Mick Jones. And The Clash was my favorite band as a kid. I was like that. I worked for all kinds of people, like models, Kate Moss, and all kinds of different people. But the guys from The Clash was the best, and they had the best stories you could possibly hear. So that was cool. It was cool, and as a chef, I had great clients, and I was great doing my personal chefing. It was great, and I did it for a while. But again, I ended up being with one client, and I was getting London. I wanted to buy a flat. I wanted to do something like that. I was looking at 1-bedroom flats for £500,000, 2 bedrooms for £650,000, 3 bedrooms for £1 million. Do you know what I mean? Small, tiny flats. And I was like, it was too expensive. The more I read about things, it was like doctors, lawyers, the highest paid people in the country were costed out of London. I mean, they weren't able to buy properties. And I just thought, it's too much. And everyone creative was flying out the door. I mean, people were starting to be able to work from home and things like that. And that's around the period I met John, and he was in Liverpool. And I finally made it up here. And I got here and I went to like the Baltic Market and the Baltic Bakehouse. We went to a few, Bold Street and things like that. And I could see all this independent stuff, which was nowhere in London anymore. And housing that you could pay for, and happy people. And not everyone's happy, and not everyone's your best friend, but it's not so grim up north, which is what you hear, how grim it is. It's not so grim up north, and it was gorgeous. And I just thought the parks, the houses. I was walking around the Victoria area here, the Georgian area here, and I was just like blown away with the houses and also the prices of the houses. Some of these houses they're worth 20 million, 50 million in London. I'm looking at these 5-6 bedroom houses that are gorgeous, beautiful. And I was ready. I was like, so literally I worked, and then I just ended. Liverpool was the calling, and I'm really happy I'm here. I like the women in Liverpool. They're strong. They go on about still magnolias in the South and women in the South of America, because they look gorgeous and very dainty and flowery and not tough as old boots, but they are. And there's a lot to say about the women from Liverpool and the women from Dallas, because they look great, but they'll shoot you. They'll shoot you if they have a gun. They'll mess with them. They're tough. And it's a great city. It's a great city, and there's a lot. There's opportunities here. There's a lot of opportunities for people who want to start a business, which you would never in a million years be able to get on that ladder in some places. And maybe even now Manchester. Liverpool still has an opportunity for people. And I think if you wanted to open a restaurant or you wanted to do something as an independent person, Liverpool's one of the places you could do it. And that's it's a draw. And it's a draw. And I guess also, if you're an artist also and you need a studio, you'd never be able to rent a place in a lot of places. And Liverpool's one of those places, and it's creative and fun. And I'm always happy to say, and I'm in Liverpool because everybody also knows Liverpool.
I think as well, we quite have a culture of supporting independent business as well. It's fair. We sort of go out of our way to support independents where possible, as a rule, allegedly anyway. So do you have favorite restaurants in the city, or aren't you allowed to say?
Yeah, I do. I love Baccarat. I love Johnny and Colette, who have Baccarat and Salt House. I think what they do and their vibe in their restaurants are really brilliant. I can't think of the name. There's a new Chinese restaurant that just opened up in Chinatown about a year ago. I love it. I mean, it's brilliant.
Which side is it on?
It's just right when you go through the arches. It's like the third restaurant in. It has flowers around the door, and it's got red lanterns. And I wish I could remember the name.
Yeah,
but
I know the one you mean. I've not been in though.
Oh, it's great. It's actually really, really good. I haven't. I restaurant wise, I like the variety here. I like the variety. I really like Baggy Foods, which is I call Scouse Chinese, because it's salt and pepper everything, and I love all that. And I love the Scouse Chinese because we have American Chinese, and there's definitely Scouse Chinese. I love the mom and pop Italian places. I like Casa Italia or whatever it is. We have to wait outside, which is all very cheesy, not really Italian food, but it grew up. I mean, like Italian, which is great. I love. So yeah, there's a lot going on. The food scene, there's a lot going on.
And I
think Bold Street, I was going to say Bold Street's quite good now because they've blocked it off, so it's pedestrianised now. And I know that in the summer, they have like an outdoor space now, and it's just nice when you walk in, you feel as if you're on your holidays, and there's lots of different choice on either side. Do you have a favourite type of food, or do you just depend on what mood you're in? Do you just go for whatever?
To be honest, I love Asian food. I love Indian food. I definitely love Chinese and Japanese. I mean, I tend to go for stuff that I don't make all the time, but I'm happy with a really good steak and a jacket potato and a salad. Do you know what I mean? For me, that's a really hard question. I love going out to dinner. I love it because when you're cooking all day, the last thing on earth you want to do is come home and cook. And then I love also if I'm cooking all day, I can come home and do that. It just matters my mood. But Bold Street, I opened up 3 restaurants on Bold Street for different people as a consultant. What was that?
Was it Organico?
Organico?
So I went and had so I took myself Christmas shopping last year, the year before, and I got off the train station, went in there, had a full breakfast, and it was a vegan. Had a gorgeous breakfast, and which set me up to then go around. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place, really gorgeous. Yeah.
So that I did. There was Art Kitchen, and then there was Live Organic. Organico's still there. I haven't done something with them since they've opened, but I always wish those places to do well. And I like the fact that Bold Street, you have the opportunity, and it's independent, and it's nice. I hope that they don't open up too many places that aren't independent restaurants, and that there's different owners and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I didn't think you'd have a favorite food because you love everything. But Sean, what's your favorite thing to cook yourself if you're going to cook something?
You know what? That's another hard question because I like you said, I love grabbing a cookbook. I might not follow the recipe, but I might get inspired by something like that. So maybe something that's inspiring me. It's hard to put my finger on. I'm going to say, because I'm working at this place called Squash.
Oh yeah, we wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, and I made gumbo because my mother's from Louisiana, from New Orleans, and I never put gumbo on a menu. I never put Cajun food, which is what my grandmother cooked, which what inspired me to cook. And I put it on, and we sold out. I was so pleased that we sold out. And we today we have a meeting where we talk about what was your star thing of the week, like, and what was your, and everybody's got like whatever it is. It was a day for the apple trees where they hang bread in the apple trees and something. It's it's a thing that they used to do 100 years ago, thousands of years ago. I don't know, a British thing that they used to do, and with apple seeds and what makes sure things grow, and they plant things in a garden because the restaurant grows a lot of things. And the girls were like, "Oh, it was the gumbo," and it makes you feel good that you can do something. But for me, it tasted great, and I was surprised because there's certain things that my grandmother made or something that I didn't really make because I don't. it's so hard to do something great that someone else has done for you. And you hold it so high. But I was really happy, and it was great that was a good thing to do.
Sean,
I'm loving that place, Squash, at the moment.
Where is it? Whereabouts?
It's oh god, it's a 5-minute walk from here, and I'm trying to think. It's Toxteth, and it's literally, if I can think of the name of the road, it's on the tip of my tongue, and it'll come to me. It's a 5-minute walk from the cathedral. I mean, I literally walked there. It's great. They have a community garden there where they grow a lot of the stuff. So we have a gorgeous woman by the name of Jackie who grows everything there. So in the summer, they have amazing stuff. And they'll come in, like she'll come in with a bowl full of fresh rocket and ruby char and whatever herbs are growing. They have, because they have a bit of a greenhouse there, and it's just nice. There's nothing that inspires you more than looking at these vegetables. I mean, I say this all the time.
It's on Windsor Street.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know the fire fit, the Toxteth fire fit?
Yeah, it's directly across the street from that.
Right.
People might know the Toxteth fire fit, which is the great big children's, like a youth centre, and it's on the little road next to it, on the corner there.
Amazing. We need to go.
They do loads of really cool stuff. So
oh, amazing.
They do like an auction, don't they, where people can
They do a great thing called Soup Up, where people buy soups, and then they put a sticker outside, and people come by, and anybody that wants a soup, even if there's no sticker there, they can come in and get a free soup. And so, which is nice for the community around there. We get a lot of people, a lot of older people and people like that it helps them drastically. Do you know what I mean? And it's a nice thing to do. But when I talk about vegetarian and vegan cookery, when I was working at the Ivy, say I did a grill, and I made a steak, a duck breast, and a hamburger. And that's what I did on the meat grill all day long, every day. Those brown things every day. When you work with vegetables and you're cooking vegetables, it's so many different colors. It's so nice. It's so vibrant. You get you're not just, if you're doing the salad, say the cold lauder, which is the salad area, you've got all these bright things, and it's so beautiful and so nice. And it's so much nicer than just cooking meat. But it does take a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes into what you do in those things, because the prep it's not just like making a steak and chips and a green salad.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as someone who's eaten an awful lot of your food, you look at something and you see like something that looks like a bit of a salad with bean sprouts on it, and that they told me off for making rude noises when I was eating, because I was eating it going, oh my God, this is amazing. Like this, because because it wasn't what I was expecting at all. You just see, and it was the flavor of everything. And it was but it was meal after meal after meal. And I've got to tell you, Sean, I was sharing photos of my food constantly in the lockdown, and everyone's like, what the hell? Who are you eating? Why are you? And then people who knew you were going, how lucky are you to be in that house? It was just incredible. It was an incredible experience. It really was.
I know we were getting little updates of, different, and then it would be 10:30, and you'd be like, oh, my snack has just arrived. And you have snacks.
I was on Zoom all the time working, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were working.
CFM is listening. Sorry, Sean. And he says, top man, top chef. And Mike is a chef himself.
Mike and Bernadette, no.
Sean, yeah. So Mike's listening in.
Love both of them.
Yeah.
I know lockdown was hard, and it was hard for a lot of people, but I have to admit, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed being at home. I enjoyed cooking. Thank God no one I love got really sick. Do you know what I mean? Thank God that, that didn't happen. John's father was older. People had older parents, and horrible things could have happened, and thank God that didn't. But for me, I was like, I just cooked every day. I had nothing else to do. I was cooking, documenting. Yeah, I put everybody on a diet.
Yeah, because Sean was on doing a restaurant at the time, and then he couldn't go to work, and he was like, after 2 days, he was like, I'm demented. And then he said, listen, I've had a thought. If we all put so much in, which was buttons, I can cook. And I was like, yes, I didn't have to. But it was amazing. It was just fantastic. And he did afternoon tea. He did an afternoon tea that we had outside for a friend of theirs' birthday, Annie Robert, and the effort that went in, like homemade Scotch eggs and just like the most beautiful food, you know, for an afternoon. You don't think, oh, it was just superb. It was just, I was very, 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 very fortunate on it. It was like going to an amazing, like, convalescence place, you know.
Having a private chef, isn't it?
But I was so lucky. I lost loads of weight.
I know. Jane Cole is listening and she says, love hearing your story, Sean.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm always happy to talk about myself.
So what are you going to be doing in the future, do you think?
Do you know what? Everything's all up in the air. My client in London, who I've worked for 17 years, and I love her. I've known her. It's Tamara Ecclestone, Bernie Ecclestone's daughter. I love her. I love her kids. I knew her before she met. I was with her the day she met her husband. I just love her, and I love working for her. And she keeps offering me some work, so I will be there in February doing some work for her for almost 2 weeks. In between squash, I got some things because the mayor, like I said, the mayor and the whirl at Hamilton Square, I'm doing stuff for him, so they're in-house kind of catering, which I enjoy. But I literally am. Like I said, I'm going to be 57 in April. I'm just not sure I want to stand all the time. I'm not sure I want to be. I love it, and it's my passion, and it's what I love doing. But I kind of want to have just the job where you get to go to lunch. Do you know what I mean? When you're in a kitchen, you just don't have a break. You just stay. People say, go sit down, go have a break. I'm just like, no, because that's just going to stop the flow. I'm just going to work the 12 hours straight and not and forget about it, as anybody. But I kind of want a job where I just come in. I thought I love clothes. I'd love to work. If there was a Ralph Lauren here, that's clothes. I'd love to work at Ralph Lauren.
Yeah.
Something like that. But I don't know. It's hard for me to say no. If you grow up in America, especially Texas, especially when I did, not nowadays, you're brainwashed to work. You're here and you're working, and if you're not working, you're nothing. It's all work. So I kind of have that in my mind. So it's hard for me to say no to work. Like when we had, COVID, I couldn't just sit at home. I took everything out of the cabinets, I put it all back. Then I started just cooking and put everybody on a diet, watching what everybody ate, and put everybody in a, 5 meals a day, but they were all measured out and all this, and so things like that. I don't know. I hate. It's the first time in my life where I think I don't really know what I want to do.
I'll tell you what you can do. You can do your book at long last.
You're probably absolutely right. I have thought that has crossed my mind. I would love to do a book like the diary of a personal chef, and the kind of stuff that you cook and for who you cook and parties.
The weight drops off, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is,
and also that too, that could be a chapter because I have worked at health farms or where people train all the time with I'm trying to think, a boot camp. I've done boot camp and menus where people were leaving after 2 weeks and they've lost over 2 stone. They lose up to almost a stone. Do you know what I mean? It's something, if they stuck with it and ate everything and did the whole day workout, they lost a lot of weight. And so stuff like that, all that's appealing. But I don't know. I love property. I would love to do some sort of property development. Maybe do a place up because Johnny Lolo loves it, and I think he and I would be good at that. In my mind, I would love to do a bed and breakfast also. I would love to do just outside of Liverpool, maybe Wales. Maybe it only has 6 bedrooms, 8 bedrooms, a brilliant breakfast, and really posh, nice rooms where you really want to go to. and maybe something like that. That has always been on my mind. I've always wanted to do a bed and breakfast. So
bed and
maybe
breakfast boot camp.
What?
Yeah.
A bed and breakfast boot camp.
Boot camp. Well, I did do that. The boot camp that I did was in outside of Brighton. It was around there, and it was how Dell, if I go on about it, she bought this house and she said it was haunted, and she moved from it. It was a nunnery, and it was a place where kids could go to camp. Like kids that didn't get to travel. And it had an indoor pool and an outdoor pool and tennis courts, and it was beautiful. It's like 17-bedroom house, but it was haunted. She was absolutely right. It was absolutely haunted, and so it was a boot camp, and it was very lovely. But I would never be in that house alone. And when Adele said it was, when I read that, when I went to work there, and I read that girl said, "Oh, they said this house is haunted." Adele owned it and rented it. It was her first big place she rented, and she moved because after 2 months she said she couldn't stay there. But I believed it.
Maybe.
It wasn't a luxury boot camp.
And Uncle Ron said the next lockdown all round to Sean's.
Oh.
Maybe we'll do a lockdown boot camp.
This girl alive, I want.
Oh, please, no more lockdowns.
No more lockdowns, even for the food, Sean. I'm sorry.
No more, definitely. Well, amazing to hear your story, Sean, and we're really excited for the future. Whatever you do, you'll be a massive, massive success. We know that. Sandra, what's your red face this week?
I don't think I've got one, so no doubt I'll have 5 next week.
You told me something about yesterday.
Pardon? Oh, there was something yesterday. What was it? Probably blanked out.
I can't remember.
Okay, go on.
I haven't got one.
You haven't got one?
Oh, no, I have actually. So I'm doing the board game cafe in work. So on a Wednesday in Bootle, we've got some board games, and then people can come, play some board games, have tea and coffee and biscuits. So last week was the first one. So I thought I'll go to the charity shop and see if I can get some unusual board games. So I went in, and there was a board game for $1.99, and it was called 5 Gold Rings, and it's hosted by Philip Schofield, which I didn't realise. And I bought it, and I was like, "Yay! Look at this new game!" And they were all like looking at me, and I was like, "Oh dear."
A faux pas in work. Never
So
mind.
I just shoved a sticker over his face.
It could have been worse. It could have been Jim will fix it in a box.
I know. So that was me sort of little red face, but yeah.
Have you got any, Sean, that you're able to share with us?
Not really. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm like you. Things happen in threes. So as soon as one that really bad happens, like I forget to put my pants on or whatever, walk out, in my underwear, who knows? I don't have it, but I'm telling you, they will come, and they will come. And like you said, 3 or 5 in a row.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the way it works.
I'm the clumsiest person Sean's ever met.
Ever. She falls up the stairs and then down the stairs.
Ever.
Which is fine.
Shout out to the grown-ups. Any grown-ups who've done amazing things. I'm going to give another shout out to Big Help Project. So Tony looks after the warehouse, and I went on Monday morning, and she gave me a box of mushrooms, a box of onions, a box of peppers, a box of spinach, loads of bread, soup mix, all sorts of loads and loads of food, which I was then able to take up to Bootle, and we use that for our. So massive shout out to Fran, who's been our guest from the Big Help, because Fran Darcy sorted it for me. So massive shout out to them. They do great work. So thank you. What about you, San?
So I'm going to give a shout out to our mutual friend Shell, who's had another chemotherapy session today, and she's doing a blog on Instagram, and she's put a photo on with the cap on and everything while she's having her treatment, and just to really send her strength and lots of positive vibes, because she's just like an ace, gorgeous human. So we can't wait for her to come out the other side of this.
Definitely,
so
and she will do. And she will.
What about you, Sean?
I will say Paper Cup, which is Michelle, I think also. who runs
He's
Paper Cup, because
Yeah.
I helped him a little bit, and I wish I could have done more with them. I love what they do, and I love her, going out and feeding people out on the street, and also the
Yeah.
women from squash. I mean, there's Jackie who runs, it's called Grapes Garden, which is down the block, which is our kind of the garden that grows the stuff for. Jackie's
Yeah.
amazing and helps a lot of people in the community, and they had that big day for the apple trees or apple seeds, and they hang bread from the tree, and they it's about your growth and all that kind of organic hippie stuff, which I think is crazy, but I think they've been doing it forever, so I can't really judge it. So yeah, those people are doing nice things for other people, like soup for people and coffee for people and people who need it. They deserve a shout out. So big up.
Definitely. I think we'll see if we can get squash
On it.
You definitely should.
They'd be good guests.
Definitely, they'd be great on your show. Claire, who's one of the people that started, she'd be brilliant on the show to talk about squash, because squash has a lot to offer, and they're fun and interesting.
Yeah, we could do
definitely.
it live from the venue. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
And a
What
sexy
book podcast are you reading, if any, Sandra?
God. Well, I'm up to about chapter 30 of the Beatles. It's so interesting, I can't tell you. I'm up to chapter 37, and I've got 2 hours 35. I think it's been 30 odd hours. But it's so interesting. I just have it on in the car, and it's been really good.
What's it called?
The Beatles, the authorized biography. But the only thing is, the gentleman does all the accents, which unfortunately are not as accurate as they might.
I love the Beatles. I'm obsessed with the Beatles. The Beatles, for me, are the greatest band that's ever been in the history of the world.
I'll send it to you as an audio book. It's really good.
When I worked for Paul McCartney, I lost my mind. He was the only person I literally couldn't speak, because I'm a massive Beatles fan, and he's Wings and everything he's ever done. I just think he's a genius. But yeah, I would like to listen to that.
Right.
I'm listening to Serena Wiegman, who is the Lionesses World Cup winner. What it takes. So I got Serena Wiegman's and Alex Scott's book, and I put a little post out on our Success in the City saying this or that, which one should I read next.
Yeah, that's nice.
The winner was Serena Wiegman, so I started that. She's just an unbelievable cookie. So yeah. Are you reading anything, Sean, or listening to any podcasts?
I've got a couple books for Christmas, and the one that I'm really want to get, I love biographies. Do you know what I mean? I just love reading about people and find it inspirational. I just got Boy George's new thing, which I want to read. So there's things like that. But I need to spend. I read cookbooks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I read cookbooks. That's the sort of thing I get, and I'm just in it. Like, I'll actually go through the whole thing and look at the whole thing. I need to spend more time. That was the best thing about taking the train back and forth to London, that 2 hours and 15 minutes that I could you can read a lot in 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That was it. So I need to read more. It just makes me feel like I need to read more. I still haven't read Michelle Obama's book, and I have it downstairs.
Oh, it's amazing.
I've read that.
I really want to read it. I started it, and I just haven't, jumped into it. But nothing better than finishing the book.
Yeah. I'm passing it to somebody
down.
Sometimes you don't want it to end, though.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just reading stuff about the city at the moment.
So our amazing show has come to an end. I want to say a massive thank you to Sean Paul Redding for giving his time and sharing his stories, which is brilliant. And we wish you all the success with your decision of what you're going to do next. Massive thank you to Sandra, as always. Sean, do you have a quote or a mantra that you live by, sort of a closing quote that we can close the show with?
Not really. All I can think is what my mom always said: kill them with kindness. Kill them with kindness. It's easy to be nasty. I was reading something about, it was a Southern woman saying, you know what? If you say to people they have gorgeous hair or beautiful eyes or they look great that day, it's sending out kindness and it always comes back to you. So I'm trying to stick with that motto: is just be kind, and say it. If you like something, say it. It puts it out there in the world, and you might make someone's day.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. And we will see everybody next week.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.